Welcome to the channel SRFE Edu Pharma. Today we will discuss the topic spectroscopy, general introduction and ultraviolet spectroscopy. So let's see. So spectroscopy is nothing but a type of interaction between matter from the sample and electromagnetic radiations. All of you know matter contains molecules, n number of molecules, whichever present in the extract and separated by chromatographic techniques. So majority of the molecule contains electrons, neutrons, protons, etc. And the electromagnetic radiation that offers photons. So what happens? Photons from the electromagnetic radiations and electrons from the matter or any sample get interacted with each other and produces a typical type of spectrum. In the chromatography we always used to say chromatograph finally obtained, but here final results are obtained. It is almost similar but never use chromatograph. The term is spectrum. For example, UV visible spectrum of light or beta rays, gamma rays, ultraviolet rays, cosmic rays, radio waves, microwaves, etc. These are all of having electromagnetic radiation power. No doubt infrared rays are also having the capacity, but there are different types of roles played by each types of rays. So it is observed that this traditional analytical techniques involves the interaction between light and matter, including the principle either emission or absorption. Emission means what? Those spectrums are offered in terms of colors. That is emission one, just like fluorescence. And absorption, like principle, involves completely molecules get absorbed the photon radiation and you will get the spectrum. So principle may be either absorption or emission type. So during this electromagnetic radiation passes to the sample under investigation, the photon interacts with the sample and that the final result is read by the instrument like spectrophotometer. Normally beam of radiation may be absorbed, reflected or refracted. Absorbed radiation may affect the electrons and chemical bonding present in the molecule, either triple bond, double bond, single bond. They get diverted, ruptured or sometimes broken down or move their places. So such type of changes are commonly occur by the interaction with photon and electron of the sample. That leads to the low energy photon get converted into higher energy states. Hence emitted and absorbed spectrum may be useful to get the desired information whichever obtained from the material. Now various types of spectroscopic techniques are there like infrared spectrum, mass spectrum, nuclear magnetic resonance or UV. Each are having different roles. For example, infrared spectroscopy is generally useful for the detection of functional groups present in the unknown sample. Mass spectroscopy is also useful to read each and every fragments present in the molecules and gives the valuable data like atomic weight, molecular weight, overall weight point of view, LS is used. Nuclear magnetic resonance, it is commonly useful for giving the internal status of hydrogen atom in the molecule. The overall environmental condition of hydrogen in the molecule that can be judged by the NMR. And that's why NMR is also commonly used for detection of nucleus present in the unknown sample, or rather you can say for the detection of structures. NMRs are useful. And today we will see ultraviolet spectroscopy, so UV spectroscopy, that simply read the transition, or rather you can say electronic transition status of the molecules. Because each and every molecule contains electrons. So because of interaction of photon from the rays and electrons in the molecules, the electrons generally get converted from ground states to higher energy state. And that higher energy state types of transitions are of different types. And that is properly read by detector is used in terms of spectrum. And with this spectrum one can easily get the information regarding the fractions. The other types of spectrophotometry techniques are also available, like fluorescence, X-ray spectroscopy, flame spectroscopy like atomic emission, atomic absorption, atomic fluorescence types of spectroscopy, plasma emission spectroscopy, spark or arc emission spectroscopy, UV visible spectroscopy, IR infrared types of spectroscopy, Raman spectroscopy, NMR spectroscopy, photothermal spectroscopy, thermal infrared spectroscopy, and mass spectroscopy. This is the general electromagnetic spectrum from 0 to up to 200. These are the specific types of wavelengths where beta rays, X-ray regions are there, and from 200 to 400 nanometer range of wavelength. In these UV ultraviolet rays are work properly for identification of noise samples. From 400 to 800 nanometer wavelength, visible types of rays are highly active to read the color types of substances. From 800 to 4000, this is the region of IR, infrared. So near IR, middle IR, far IR, these are the specific regions of infrared. Later on, you can say microwaves, radio waves. So according to the wavelength, different types of rays are useful for getting the data of unknown samples. Now it is observed that through this wavelength, so those who offer their activity around 100 or 200 regions, so such type of region is called a shorter wavelength, and they offers higher energy, higher frequency, commonly denoted as E is equal to HV. H is Planck's constant, right? And commonly frequency is called as V. So majority at higher wavelength, even more than IR, we can say higher wavelength, so longer wavelength. Exactly reverse is the energy, like lower energy is lower frequency. So normally in the UV spectroscopy techniques, one has to select a proper tungsten like, or you can say Nernst Glober like sources. They have an ability to provide UV rays. And whichever rays are passes from these light sources, they get properly scrutinized with the help of collimator. Collimator is nothing but a type of mirror or slit-like structure where actual bifurcation of UV rays and visible rays are occurs. It is observed that color compounds are generally detected in the visible rays 400 nanometer to 800 nanometer, whereas UV rays, they work on the range of 200 to 400 nanometer and commonly useful for colorless types of components present in the fractions. Apart from that, prism or grating type of techniques are also one has to use for proper targeting the UV rays towards wavelength selector. Wavelength selector, so this is the special type of slit or structure through which uniform flow of UV rays are generally passed on towards the sample. Sample solutions are normally placed in the cuvette and that is properly dissolved in the suitable solvent. And last portion is nothing but your detector. So detector simply read the information from ground states to higher energy states like molecules, electron molecules present in the molecules, they get converted into the spectrum. Exactly similar manner, one has to perform the same procedure without sample. So without sample is termed as a reference results point of view or detector point of view. So with this detector, two types of results are obtained in terms of spectrum. One is for reference or standard solution and another one is for sample solution. Now after bombarding of these photon rays from UV rays over the molecules of the sample which are placed in the cuvette, so normal interaction takes place between photon and electrons. So obviously electrons, they are lie on the zero state or ground state. So after receiving, after absorbing the UV rays, simply photon interact with electrons and there is a conversion of electrons molecule from zero state or rather you can say ground state to higher energy state in the form of electronic transition. Now electronic transitions are of four types. First one is non-bonding, that is commonly denoted by N. It may be a non-bonding N to pi star, N to sigma star. Another one is pi bonding. Pi bonding gives you electronic transition in the form of pi to pi star or pi to sigma star. Another one is sigma bonding. It gives you sigma bonding to pi star or sometimes sigma to sigma star types of bonding. So these are the various types of bonding takes place during electronic transition. So whenever molecules get excited, electrons transfer from their zero states to higher energy states depending upon the photon interaction, and it gives you specific types of transitions like pi to pi star, sigma to sigma star, N for non-bonding, non to pi star, non to sigma star. So this particular type of transition gives you valuable information like pi to pi transitions. They are always using vacuum types of ultraviolet regions and of separated the typical types of components. N to sigma star, this is basically gives you the valuable information regarding saturated compounds. No double bonding, no triple bonding, no single bondings are there because they are completely saturated. Whereas non-bonding to pi star or pi to pi star, these are the regions which gives you valuable information regarding unsaturated functional groups, maybe single bond, double bond. So if they are present, this type of information is given by these types of transitions. So depending upon transition, information one can easily record it. Now during the instrumental part, it is observed that 200 to 400 is the region of UV and 400 to 800 nanometer is the range of visible rays. So absorption of this UV radiation leads to the excitement of electron from ground states to higher energy state. This is the main one. The principle involved in this UV visible spectra is what is based on Beer-Lambert's law. When a beam of monochromatic light passes over the solution containing absorbing substances, vibrant substances, those who have an ability to absorb UV rays, such type of substances, if they are present in the solution, so obviously rate of decrease of radiation power with thickness of the absorbing solution is directly proportional to the number of radiations, or rather you can say incident type of radiation, as well as overall concentration of the solution. It is commonly calculated by this formula: A is equal to log I0 by I is equal to ECL, where A, that we are actually calculating absorbance for unknown sample. I0 is the intensity of light incidence upon the cuvette or sample film. I is the intensity of light that is actually leaving the cuvette, leaving the sample film. E is the molar absorptivity or molar absorption coefficient. C is the molar solid concentration, and L is nothing but the length of sample cell in terms of centimeter. That is cuvette, the height of cuvette, the length of cuvette, that is nothing but L. Terminologies that are commonly used in UV visible spectroscopy is chromophore. Any isolated covalently bonded groups that are present, and if they are showing in the region 200 to 800 meters, so either they contain p electrons, and that obviously upon exposure of UV rays undergoes pi to pi star transition, for example ethylene or acetyl. Or another case is where if the molecule contains p electrons, pi electrons, and non-bonding electrons, that is n electrons. So again, on the exposure of UV rays, they undergo pi to pi star and non-bonding to pi star like transition. Example of this: carbonyl, azo compound, nitroso compound, nitrile like this. Apart from this chromophore, sometimes oxochromes are also plays their role. It is not the two types of chromophore. Oxochrome is what? It is a group which doesn't have that of chromophore type of activity, but because of their presence, which leads to the shift of absorption towards longer wavelength of the spectrum. Many times it is observed that due to the presence of typical type of compound leads to the deviation of the spectrum towards longer types of wavelength. So such type of oxochrome are of four types. First one is bathochromic type effect. So this bathochromic effect is also called as red shift because absorption maximum is shifted towards the longer wavelength due to the presence of oxochrome like sulfhydryl group SH, amino group NH2, NH with R with alkyl group OR, oxygen attached with alkyl group or hydroxyl. So due to the presence of these groups, sometimes shifting of this spectrum occurs towards larger types of wavelength. So shifting is called as red shift, or rather you can say bathochromic shift. One more term associated with oxochrome is hypsochromic effect. It is exactly reverse types of bathochromic one, and it is commonly termed as blue shift. Why? Because the absorption maximum is shifted towards left side, that means shorter wavelength. Due to the removal of conjugations or changing of the polarity of the solvents, such type of effects are occur. So if the deviation occurs towards left hand side or towards shorter wavelength, such type of effect is called as hypsochromic effect. It is exactly opposite to that of bathochromic. Third one is hyperchromic effect. So due to the oxochrome presence, absorption maximum gets little bit increases. So such type of increased introduction of oxochrome is called as hyperchromic effect. Fourth and last one is hypsochromic, hypochromic effect. So absorption maximum gets simply reduces due to the distortion, rupture or broken down of the molecule. So many times due to destruction, absorption maximum in terms of spectrum get decreases. Again this is a slide which simply helps you to understand the general procedure involved in the UV spectrum. On the topmost side there is a types of transition that we have seen in the previous slide. Instrumental part, energy source, UV rays is properly selected with the help of collimator or selector. So proper UV rays goes to the sample. Their actual absorption of photon occurs, so energy analyzer, and whichever absorbed and scattered, both are read by the output source. Output source is detector. Detector gives valuable information in terms of spectrum, and they follow the same formula, same principle of absorbance. Log I0 by I is equal to ECL. So D2 lamp, tungsten lamp of either of choice, one has to prefer as a light source, and through the mirror it gets simply passed on to a filter collimator. Through this collimator, UV rays get diverted and from visible rays, because visible rays absorb only colored molecules, whereas by filtering these, the information passes to the monochromator. There is also types of separator where actual UV rays get splitted and transferred towards splitter, beam splitter. Through this beam splitter, some of the UV rays pass on towards reference sample and some of the towards the solution which contains actual sample. For reference, one can use the liquid phase, liquid without sample, and in the sample the actual material gets properly dissolved into the same types of solvent. Now obviously with the help of detector, one can easily separate and identify the different fragments. Normally UV visible spectroscopy use different types of detectors like photodiode types of electron detectors, Gallium cells types of detectors, thermocouple types of detectors, Faraday cup collector types of detectors. So depending upon the choices of detector, one has to use using the spectrophotometer, and final data is obtained. Percentage of absorbance transmittance or percentage of absorbance with respect to wavelength. So at different types of wavelength, various types of spectrum absorb the variable types of absorbance, one can easily note it down, through which the authenticity of the fractions can be confirmed, because we are getting both types of results, standard, references and samples. If they are tally or matches exactly with each other, then one can easily say that the given sample contains that much type of pure types of components. And later on, application part of UV spectra, detection of impurity is the first and most important. Second one is structural elucidation of the organic compound, detection of actual status of structure, quantitative analysis, qualitative analysis of the sample, dissociation constants of acids as well as bases. UV spectra is also useful for the quantitative analysis of pharmaceutical analysis, chemical kinetics, molecular weights, and importantly UV spectra itself acts as a detector for HPLC chromatography. I hope you might have cleared this topic very neatly and precisely. Keep watching the channel, do subscribe. Thank you.